So here today we are discussing Wynter Addams, and we're going to just get into a bit of a breakdown of how we turn ex-powerlifter to Olympian within 3 years pretty much. Just going to get a bit in depth about the journey, what needed to be done, the fun side of prep, the ugly side of prep, and just be totally transparent with the journey and what it took and how we was able to bring up certain body parts in a very short period of time, utilizing the fact that Wynter had come from a powerlifting background and not done much hypertrophy training. So seeing that newbie stimulus lead to us adding a lot amount of muscle tissue in a short period of time, because the improvements we made from year one working together to year two was 6 kilos. That's a stone. That's pretty much unheard of on a female physique and nearly unheard of on a male physique. A lot of males, add on a kilo a year or half a kilo, because when we consider, the weight of actual muscle, that's a lot of weight to be adding on to your physique. And we'll pan up the images from show one and the images from show two, where we actually turned pro. So we actually did a pro qualifier with a pro level physique, because just as a recap, we did the Sheru Classic in August where we turned pro, and then on the very same day, within the space of 45 minutes, we were then on our way with a ticket to the Olympia. And that is credit to Wynter's hard training, dedication to the nutrition in the off season, understanding the fundamentals of every meal counts and more when it is prescribed. As females, it does get hard to sort of, the off season's a place that can get uncomfortable. Sometimes you don't like the way you look, things don't fit the same, your waist size goes up, but Wynter was very understanding that was needed to make the improvements necessary in the short period of time, because I believe we competed about 12 months after show one, and then again, even now, August to November, we made quite a few improvements. So we've got a great relationship where I understand Wynter's crazy eating habits and she understands myself as well. One of the things I wanted to cover is terms of as a female athlete looking to jump into a new class, and obviously Wynter came from powerlifting, so the benefit I had was having an athlete that was very meticulous and understood nutrition, someone that I knew I wouldn't have to tell you have to train hard, because if you're a powerlifter and you're breaking records from a young age, you know how to train hard. So that helped massively in my favor. But what we did need to just sort of show Wynter is, changing that notion from the powerlifting lifestyle where it's pretty much fitting as much calories as you can to quality nutrition. But it wasn't hard. Wynter took everything on board, which was absolutely amazing. I believe at the peak of the off season, let's put into perspective, she's weighing in for the Olympia now at about sub 59 kilos. At the peak, we were 75 kilos. So if you look, that's 27 kilos above stage weight. And not saying that's the rule of thumb for everyone, but that was the rule which me and Wynter feel works best for us. We let Wynter have a bit of time off, get 6 to 8 kilos above, and then we start reverse dieting, because again, all the food cravings, we get them out the way, and we know Wynter performs best when she's got food in her because she's extremely strong. And I always say to people, when you're in their off season, I'm a big believer of slowly reverse dieting if it suits the athlete, whereas Wynter's food utilization so great, even if we push that boat out and have a bit of fun food, she utilizes food very well, and that's transferable energy into training, which leads to better training sessions, which leads to adding muscle tissue on a shorter period of time. So the ugly side of the off season for Wynter is food were up to 7,000 calories a day. And when I was bodybuilding, 7K calories was a lot for me. So on a female of a smaller frame, that's also a lot, but Wynter didn't miss a meal. You can see that in the improvements she had. And even in the back end of that first diet Wynter did for the show, because she has a physique that utilizes food very well, we was going into the peak week on 200, 250 carbs. And this week we've pulled down, but we started carb loading 3 days out, into the Olympia. We're going off over 1,000 grams of carbohydrates. So that's enough to fill out a smaller physique. And as we know, with the wellness class, the criteria has slightly changed year on year. I believe Wynter possesses one of the best look she has, which suits the class, because again, 1 year it was about being really defined, 1 year it was about being a bit softer and feminine, and now we've got a hybrid of a mix in between the two. So it's really exciting to see that and understanding what we need to do and what strengths we need to play to sort of fit the class. Like we've said to Wynter this prep, all right, we can come in a half a kilo to a kilo lighter, but any more we will potentially start to lose some pop within the physique. So we have to play to the strengths of Wynter, knowing that she's a smaller physique. If we pull too much, we'll lose that pop. And again, if we don't come down lean enough and then we start eating, we're not going to look as defined. So today she's had a great sleep and we've put in 380 grams of carbohydrates, and she's just going to get tighter and fuller, especially as we rest and drop cortisol and pull out things that are taxing, such as the Stairmaster. That's going to help bring some lines through her legs just by reducing inflammation. Midsection is going to get tighter by reducing cortisol. When we look at that, we really had to look and sit down and have a chat and say, how could we improve from show one? And the goal was, you know what, we won that show, but we didn't want to say, oh, just do what we did. We said, let's come in a bit tighter, then carb a bit heavier to bring that fuller look. And show by show, like bodybuilding and wellness, there's a criteria. You can't always, you try to stick to that criteria, but it's judged on the lineup that's in front of you. So, we're bringing a balanced look and hoping that the lineup that in front of us complements that look, and most of the girls bring sort of a similar look. So as I said, in the off season, Wynter got up to 7,000 calories, multiple cheat meals per week. People tend to demonize cheat meals, but this is something we felt we utilized massively and benefited from. This allowed us to have big strength surges, post refeed meals, post cheat meals, to allow us to perform to the best we can. And again, when you're training hard, you need to fuel your physique. But this doesn't mean that this is one fit rule for everyone. A few of my other wellness girls, they're more on a more of a reserve diet, more structured. You have to sort of work with the athlete. And even so, like I said, in the dieting phase, we've not restricted Wynter's calories too much till probably the last 2 weeks, where we said, let's just get a bit off. We go into shows pretty much 200 grams of carbs, which for Wynter is not a lot of food. Prep is personal dependent for everyone. For someone else, that's a hell of a lot of food. That's a repeat for someone else 2 weeks out. So it's sort of looking at Wynter as an athlete and saying, all right, how did we approach the off season, which was pushing up extremely high? That is Wynter's method. That works for Wynter. That won't work for everyone. And also saying for Wynter, keeping food nice and high yields us coming into the show with bigger legs and keeping performance nice and high. So when we talk about performance and we talk about training, the way we made improvements from 2022 to 2023 was simply by utilizing hypertrophy training. Wynter came from a background where a lot of things were heavy and hard and moving it from A to B. Whereas if you watch the YouTube where I put Wynter through sessions, the last few weeks we've sat in a higher rep range approach. Personally, I'm a huge fan of hypertrophy and progressive overload and mixing them between the two. So progressive overloads, when you sort of progress each set and overload the set each set and work up heavier as you're going along. So we sit between a 6 to 8 rep range and a 8 to 12 rep range typically, but then also we mix it up and we incorporate a higher volume hypertrophy session where sometimes I'll say, Wynter, we're going to do 4 sets of 15 to 20 on the leg extension. So the goal with Wynter is, because she's still newly exposed to this type of training, I've always said to her, the key is to get strong at every rep range. And we'd come into the sessions, I'd say, we're doing this today, and she'd be like, what? But because I didn't want Wynter to get married to movements, whereas in powerlifting, you're married to the squat, you're married to the deadlift, you're married to certain movements. And I always say you get better by doing the things you haven't done. And if we sit down and look at the equipment in the gym, there's still a lot of equipment Wynter still hasn't used. So the room for potential to add on more tissue is just crazy. Obviously, I won't say, but we've got a potential NABA show lined up. But after that, we'll be looking to shock people with the amount of tissue we can add on. And again, training will be very similar. When food's high, 5, 6, 7,000 calories, we will be pushing that lower progressive overload volume training, 6 reps, 8 reps. And then as we start to move into the dieting phase, we'll move into the more hypertrophy response of the higher volume training, 12, 15, 20 reps. I'm also a huge fan of this in the diet phase because I believe it gets a higher heart rate, which leads to a better caloric burn as well, which helps us shift body fat as pretty quickly as possible. And the benefit we've now got here is, I always say to people, like, the better your start point in a prep, the better your end point in a prep. And obviously Wynter had a very good start point because we structured out the off season. I saw her most weeks, and now it's our best end point. So now as the stakes and goals get bigger, we're going to be doubling down even more and making sure that we're making them improvements for the next time that Wynter steps on stage. So like I said, what works for Wynter is not going to work for everyone. The way we had to do it was get food high because she had been used to eating a lot of food from a very early age. So we had to keep that food nice and high. We couldn't then say, you've eaten 5,000, 6,000 calories through your whole powerlifting years. Now we're going to go to 3,000 because her body's just ultra responsive and she'll be in a deficit. So there is days when it's hard. Like Wynter's typical refeed is 500 carbs on a Friday, 500 carbs on a Saturday. Then it says, so she's doing 1,000 grams of carbs on a refeed. So you can see this is someone who's genetically great with a work rate, and it helps massively for them. So like I said, we did 270 yesterday, 380 today, and going into the show probably 550, which for a female, that's a lot of food. That's that's what a lot of males will carb up on. But again, it's the needs and response that the athlete needs. To summarize that, as I said, is this method might not work for everyone. And we might approach Wynter's off season totally different, probably not, but we might approach it totally different. And this method may not work for you, so you can't just replicate your favorite person on YouTube or so's method. But no, we are excited to take you on the journey of this Olympia weekend. And as much as we've got a secret show planned after, we're more excited to take you on the off season because Wynter's going to be an advocate to showing you what muscle tissue you can add as a female if you really dedicate your time to it. Keep up to date with Wynter's Instagram and mine for all the updates. And if there's any questions, just comment them below. I'll try to get back to them and answer them all. But I'm really excited to take you on this journey.